This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, where I strategize with business owners on how to grow and scale their businesses to hit their income goals. This is episode 422 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. Today, we're going to be talking about effortless efficiency, how to create your ultimate project task list. And this is going to be really important as you go to set your goals for 2025 when we're looking at those 90-day goals that you want to be setting. So before we jump into this, I want to make sure that if you haven't already grabbed our strategic growth plan guide, this is going to help you really get clear on where you are trying to go. So I want to make sure that if you haven't already grabbed that you head into your show notes and make sure that you click on that so that you can have that in your inbox and get started today with really aligning everything with where you are trying to go with your business. Now, with this, we're going to learn how to create the ultimate project task list by simplifying, prioritizing, and boosting productivity with actionable tips and tools. The first thing that we need to understand is the basics of a project task list. Specifically, what is a project task list? And when we're looking at it, a project task list are all of the tasks that you need to complete in order to hit a goal. Now, a goal that you are setting will normally have multiple tasks within it because you have stated there's a project that goes along with that goal that you are trying to set. So if we were looking at it, if you have a goal that you are looking to grow your email subscribers in 90 days by a specific number, let's say 1,000, we are going to have a project that we are going to put forth in order to make that happen. And that project might be getting on to other podcasts in order to talk about your opt-in and show that you are the expert so that you can grow your list. Okay. So that would be your project. It's going to be getting onto other podcasts. So there are specific tasks that you then need to put in place in order to get onto those podcasts, such as pitching, finding the right podcasts that are going to be a good fit, making sure that your opt-in is aligned to the content that you are pitching. You're going to have to follow up. You're going to have to make sure that you have a swipe copy email of the pitch that you are going to be creating for them. So those are all examples of some of the tasks that you would be doing. And what we want to do is we want to use these tasks in order to better organize and prioritize ourselves in what is going to move the needle the fastest. So obviously with those tasks that we have in mind, we're trying to grow our email subscribers by getting onto the podcast. We want to make sure that we prioritize the first things and there's steps to take. This will also help hold us accountable because with this, we want to be able to put a timeline in place as to how long it's going to take us to get onto a certain number of podcasts so that we can actually grow our subscribers from it. So the big thing that we need to make sure is that we have an efficient task list when we are going through and setting these tasks. We want to have very clear objectives that are aligned with the project and the goal that we set for those 90 days. Now, it's also important that you are prioritizing what is going to come first, second, third, fourth. And when you're looking at the project and the tasks that go with it, it will often be step by step in how you're going to move it. Now, if we were looking at the goals that you have set, prioritizing which goal you're going to try to hit first very well is normally going to be based upon the goal that is going to bring in the most income the quickest so that you can have ways that you could potentially outsource some of this. Now, when you are looking at setting this efficient task list, it's really important that you have realistic guidelines as far as your deadlines and when things need to be done by. Now, when you've never pitched for a podcast before, you're not necessarily going to know how long it's going to take. So you need to put in a predicted amount of time and then be able to decipher it and change it based upon what you are actually seeing how long it takes you. We often think that something will take us 30 minutes and then we end end up spending an hour and a half to 2 hours on it. So we need to make sure that we are revising the amount of time that we think something is going to take us. It's also important that you break things into task categories. We've often talked about the importance of batching your tasks so that if you have something where you're going to be writing, you're going to be pitching, you're within those tasks all at once. You're batching that so that it is easier to stay on task and easier to not be switching your brain from one task to another that uses maybe an entirely different portion of your brain. Pitching is very different than when we are looking at the research phase of trying to find the right podcast in the email. So it's important that you really start to think about that. There's also going to be tools and techniques for making sure that you craft a task list that works for you. You can use anything from digital tools like Asana to Trello to ClickUp. You could use Google Docs if you are a Google person like myself. You want to make sure that you're able to keep this organized for yourself so that it is very clear where you were trying to go. You can also use traditional methods. I personally will use Google Docs as far as my digital tools, but then when it comes to traditional, I'm going to use my planner. I am writing down my task list every Sunday so that I know what I need to do in the week ahead, so it's in line with the projects that I'm trying to hit that are going to help me hit my goals. And you need to make sure that when you're looking at the tools that are offered, you use the right tools for you. Not every tool is going to be a perfect fit. If you are not someone that works well with Trello, don't use Trello, don't use Asana. I have tested other things in my business. I've tested Asana and it's just not a good fit for me and my personality. Google Docs, keeping everything organized that way makes so much more sense. When I'm saying Google Docs, I mean Google Drive, so that I have all my documents in the same place as well as my spreadsheets and if I have any forms that go along with it. So make sure that you are definitely choosing the right tool for you. Then another piece of what we want to make sure is that when we are looking at this ultimate project task list that we are creating, that we have specific steps to take. So you're going to start off by making sure that you brainstorm all of the tasks that could go into that project. You're going to gather all of the different ideas and the requirements that are necessary for it, as well as the resources that you may need for that. Now, if you have grabbed my 90-day plan program, you know that this is part of what I break down on the 90-day plan, of really making you look at making sure that you understand the resources, you understand any hurdles that you may have to overcome in order to get these tasks done so that you can be realistic in your timeline. You also want to make sure that you are organizing by priority and the category. So again, we're batching tasks and we're making sure that we are making sure that we are hitting the highest priority task first and foremost. And this normally is going to go back to that project that is actually going to move the needle as far as revenue.
Hey there, guys. My name is Melanie from Mostly Under Control, and I am a member of Jenny's Influencer Entrepreneurs Insiders membership. I've been a part of it since 2017, and over these 6 years, I've taken full advantage of the weekly trainings that Jenny offers and the monthly group coaching. The group coaching is probably my favorite part of the membership. Jenny has taught me so many things for my business. She helped me niche down and write and teach about what I wanted so that I wouldn't burn out. In addition to what she teaches, the networking I've done with other members has been invaluable. I recommend her membership to all of my online business owner friends because it is worth every single penny.
And then you want to make sure that you are continuing to set those deadlines and possibly handing out who is responsible for those. If you have a team, if you have a VA, is there something that you can hand off to them? Pitching podcasts is a great thing that if you have an SOP already in place, which again is something that I talk about in the 90-day plan, that you are able to then hand over that SOP to someone on your team to be able to get it off of your plate. And pitching a podcast to get on to grow your list is something that can easily be handed off. So making sure that you really are clear on who is responsible for that. Then the last thing that we want to make sure that we do is that we want to review and adjust to keep the list, making sure that we are actually hitting it, like we said, as far as our deadlines, what is actually working, if our pitch maybe needs to be tweaked. We need to really be looking at our numbers and how we can apply what we are putting into place to make sure that it is impacting our bottom line. Now, when we're looking at best practices for really maintaining the efficiency, it's important, like we just said, to make sure that you are doing daily or really weekly reviews to update your progress, to really take a look at, am I reaching out to the right podcasters to try to, is my pitch efficient? Are they clicking on it? Are they opening it? Any of that sort of information that you can provide yourself with so that you have a better idea of whether what you are doing is being effective or not. You also want to make sure with this that you avoid putting everything, all your tasks cluttered. You don't want it to look like a to-do list of 30 different to-dos that you have to complete. Instead, break those tasks down by the project so that you're not feeling like you are just trying to check off a list. And then you want to make sure that if there's anyone on your team that is involved with this, that you incorporate their feedback so that you are able to revise it to what works for them. If there's questions that they're having after reading your SOP, make sure that you're revising that SOP to be more effective and efficient for your team members. So the last thing that I want to make sure that we talk about is just common mistakes to avoid. You want to make sure that when you are doing this, that you don't overcomplicate your task list with unnecessary details. You want to make sure that you're clear and concise in what you're trying to get them to do. And again, this is where that SOP is going to come into place and is going to help you. You also want to make sure that you are updating or revising it. So don't fail to do that. It's really important that you are reviewing the tasks that you have put down and making sure that you're being as efficient as you possibly can be. Then the last mistake that I would highly recommend avoiding is ignoring time blocking or making sure that you're handing things off to others on your team if you can. If it's really important, like we talked about with batching, that when you're batching, you stay within the same type of task so that if you are writing, it's all written tasks. If you are doing research, it's all research-based tasks. If you are recording podcast episodes, if you are recording videos, it's all within those same type of tasks. You're not jumping from one to the next to the next. This is always going to make sure that you use your time more efficiently. All right. I hope that you have a better idea of how to make sure that you are using this task list. If you are looking to go more in depth, make sure that you grab our 90-day plan program. This is going to help you set 90-day goals for moving forward in your quarters, within the year, whatever, wherever you are. But it's going to help you make sure that you're only setting 3 goals and then break it down, those goals by projects and then into tasks, helping you establish SOPs so that you can hand off some of these tasks and make sure that you have a task program or plan that works best for you. All right. I will see you all next time.